Man, I'm in the middle of editing this draft grade and review, and then I look up and see that Antonio Gandy-Golden, Redskins rookie wide receiver, lot of potential, very excited to see him on the field, had tested positive for coronavirus but has fully recovered already. Shouts out to Burgundy Blog for being one of the first sources to report this. Also shouts out to Jerry Falwell on Fox News to also be one of the first people to report this. I think he was the very first. I'm not exactly sure how it works down the line of reporting or whatever. But all I know is I got my hands on it and I want to talk about it for a little bit. So let's get it. Well, we already know that Redskins Park will reopen this week to limited personnel like football support staff. Neither coaches nor players will return to the facility. Everyone who will adhere to health and safety guidelines from the CDC, NFL, and the state of Virginia. So they're starting to get stuff rolling a little bit with teams returning to facilities and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's just limited personnel like football support staff. It's not actual players and coaches yet. Not until everything is under wraps a little bit better. Also heard somewhere that the NFL may allow teams to open up facilities just for rehabbing players. So that may include like Reuben Foster, Bryce Love, maybe even Darius Geis. Guys that are trying to return from injury, maybe even Alex Smith. Even though I don't want Alex Smith playing, but you know what I'm saying. At least that'll give us something to look forward to and keep track of. Some type of Redskins practice going on. But everything depends on how the state feels that the specific team is planning on reopening their facilities in. It's definitely a per state basis, whether or not that state will allow that team to continue football activities and gradually do more. Like going from the current specific football staffers that we have allowed to next the rehab guys to next everybody, like the coaches and players. It's like a per state basis. It's not necessarily just an NFL thing. The NFL has to approve it, and then that specific state has to approve it. And of course the team has to approve it, the owner, Dan Snyder, and the guys. And that goes for every team. But back to what the original topic was. Antonio Gandy-Golden has recovered from COVID-19. He tested positive for COVID-19, but has since self-quarantined, and he was asymptomatic. So that means that he had it, but he couldn't really tell he had it. He just happened to get tested, and they said he had it, but he couldn't tell. He wasn't feeling sick in any way. He didn't feel any type of different. He didn't have any of the symptoms, but he was a carrier. That's what it means to be asymptomatic. You can give it to other people, and they may truly get sick from it, but you don't show any symptoms. You're not sick from it, but you do have it. You do carry it, and you can spread it. So he's self-quarantined, and he's fully recovered from it now. The Liberty receiver is expected to be a starter in this receiving core, and I'm so excited. You have Terry McLaurin, who's going to be our number one receiver, can do it all. You have Steven Sims, who's going to emerge as a premier slot receiver in the NFL, which is what I truly believe. Kelvin Harmon is a nice possession receiver who can pretty much catch anything thrown his way, one-handed, contested, all of that. And AGG is going to be that diet Julio Jones. He's big, he's faster than his 40 time says. I mean, he looked way faster than that 4.6 he ran at the 40 time on his film. He's going to finally be that consistent red zone target for Dwayne Haskins at 6'4". His release at the line of scrimmage against press man coverage is really good, especially for somebody his size. He shouldn't be able to move like that off the line of scrimmage. So press man covering him like corners normally try to do, big receivers to throw them off their route timing, won't work against them. So he's going to be a matchup nightmare for corners, and I'm so excited about his potential. But this is very interesting that he got it. I want to know where he got it from, how he got it, and who else may have it around him and stuff. I'm assuming everybody around him is self-quarantined since, but we already heard about Von Miller having it, a couple of other NFL players having it, and nobody's been seriously hurt from it yet. Everybody that's gotten it in the NFL so far, and the NBA and other leagues and stuff like that, have recovered from it. I guess being like an elite athlete helps your chances of not getting sick from it and not having any real issues. But the NFL and the country itself, because of how it affects each state's economy, they're definitely trying to get football back as soon as possible. But of course, when people start returning and they start testing everybody and people start being around each other, you have to expect some positive tests, and they're just gonna have to self-quarantine those guys. as they get everything running. But this is a very complicated process. I can't even really break it down because not only do I not exactly know how everything's about to look in the future, but even the NFL itself, all of their leaders and Roger Goodell and all of them don't exactly know how everything's about to work into the future. So I don't want to go on babbling and guessing about stuff that may or may not happen, but it does look like there's definitely a serious initiative to get football back as soon as possible. But they are going to be diligent. They're going to have protocols set up to make sure they test players, and if somebody tests positive, they'll have this form of action to follow suit, stuff like that. But shouts out to Antonio Gandy-Golden for fully recovering. Can't wait to see you on that field. I'm expecting big things out of you. Dwayne Haskins going to love you. Scott Turner's going to love you. The other receivers are going to love you because you're going to make their jobs easier by being such a big distraction and such a big threat for defenses. I'm so excited. But yeah, man, that's all I wanted to talk about. About to get right back to editing this draft grade and review, analysis, all that type of stuff. Video is probably going to run at least an hour long because the recording was 2 hours long, and I'm editing it right now, and it just keeps getting cut and cut from like all the breaths I'm taking, all that kind of stuff, or me messing up something I'm saying. You know, I keep cutting it down, but I still think it's going to be more than an hour, so I'm getting right back to it. But most importantly, make sure you like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything, subscribe if you haven't, and again, I appreciate the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out. Draft grade coming out soon, later today.